Hey guys, it's Jen over at worldofjencraft.com, and this is our third card in the Magical Day mini-series. So let's get started and I'll show you the supplies and how I put it together. It should be a pretty easy card. Well, I guess most of mine are fairly simple. Tuxedo Black Memento ink to stamp our images, and Fresh Fig to stamp out the sentiment. The Magical Day, of course, stamp set and die set. I brought out my layering squares framelits and my stitched shapes framelits for this one. And the sparkle embossing folder, I found that it was fitting because my unicorn is sparkly. I don't know, maybe not, but my Stampin' Blends markers that I used, not too many this time, and I did pull out my Fresh Fig Stampin' Right marker for this project, along with some Wink of Stella. So let's get with these supplies. Once again, I have a pre-cut card kit ready to go to someone who leaves a comment on my blog, worldofjencraft.com, and I will draw a name in the next couple of days to send this to someone. For the cardstock and paper, I used Whisper White, once again 4 1/4 by 5 by 11, scored at 5 1/2 to make a top folding card. 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, a scrap to stamp out our image and our banner, and then you'll need a 2 3/8 inch square. The Myths and Magic Specialty DSP is a 2 5/8 inch stitched square. Now you don't need to use the stitching, but, well, I mean, you can kind of see it on there, so I just went ahead with it. I thought it was kind of a nice little added touch. Basic black cardstock is a 3 inch scallop square, and then our Fresh Fig cardstock is a 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started on coloring in our unicorn. And she shouldn't take too long at all. Again, basic coloring with this. For her body, I did use the light pink pirouette. And then her mane, I did the light and dark, what's this called? Rich Razzleberry. Alright, so she is done. And so what I did is the light pink pirouette is pretty light, so I went over her several times. So I colored over her, kind of let it sit for a minute, colored over again, and then repeated it, and then I just basically kind of colored in the bottom area, but you really can't see that much shading. But it did kind of add a little bit, it darkened it up from what it was when you just put one layer of that alcohol ink on it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab out my die, which should be over here somewhere in my pile. There it is. So let's go ahead and get her cut out. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp out our sentiment, which is one of a kind. And what I did for this one is I used a little masking technique. So I just grabbed some washi tape and I'm just going to cover over this portion of the banner here. I'm going to use just a little bit more because this is not quite white enough. So make sure that entire banner there is, yes, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to stamp this out and pull off my washi tape there. And that's just going to get stamped out here, and then I'm going to do it one more time where I have the entire banner on here. And that's going to get stamped up here. I'm having a hard time seeing. I'm going to pull this down for a second so I can make sure I see where the top is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back my Big Shot and my banner here, and I'm going to cut out the one of a kind. Hopefully I left myself enough room here. And this guy is not wanting to cooperate, so I'm going to turn it this way and see if I can get a better cooperation. So I'm just going to center that here in my banner and cut this out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut out just this little tiny piece here, the UR. And I'm just going to follow right on that very edge of my fresh fig. So this is where our fresh fig Stampin' Right marker is going to come in handy, and I'm going to use the brush tip of it. And I'm just going to go ahead and run this all along the edge of this banner just to kind of give it a more completed look so my white cardstock is not showing through. I think it makes a difference, makes it look a little bit more complete. So there's that. And then what I'm going to do is, when I was making my card, I didn't really necessarily want the white on white, but I didn't want to put a color on the background either. So I decided to go ahead and take just the edge of my brush here, my brush tip, and I just came along the very edge of my banner with it. Like this. And that kind of gave a nice separation there between the white of the banner and the white of my cardstock part there as well. So I'm going to grab out our Big Shot once again. Probably should have done it while it was out, but let's grab it, and I'm going to get my embossing plate on here. And we're going to emboss our Whisper White here. Let's see, let me get all my stuff together, my embossing folder. And that's just, there's nothing special about this. I just threw it in using both of my plates and my regular white plate that came with the Big Shot. I'll go ahead and adhere this to my fresh fig. And I like the really thin border, so this is just 1/8 of an inch border that goes around. Sometimes, kind of depending on my mood. Now this fresh fig that lays on top of the Whisper White has the 1/4 of an inch border that goes all the way around. I like just that little pop of color that fresh fig gives. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to layer up all of my pieces here. Generally, I would have used a solid fresh fig, and you certainly can for this if you don't want to use the Designer Series paper. But I kind of like that extra added little tiny bit of white in the background for this piece. And then I did not use Stampin' Dimensionals to put on the back of my scalloped piece, but I did use it for my sweet little unicorn. And I did go ahead and center her onto the bottom portion of this square. And our little UR is going to get put down with some glue dots. And that's just going to come up here into, I don't know, probably like this. And then the one of a kind, I went ahead and I also used Stampin' Dimensionals on it as well. And that's just going to come down here centered again towards the bottom of the card. And then the very last thing that we're going to do is we're just going to brush on my favorite thing in the world is our Wink of Stella, and I just love the added shimmer that this gives. Now this card didn't have all that extra shimmer that the other ones used with that glimmer paper. So she really does pop off of this when you add that Wink of Stella on here. And now on this card, I put the Wink of Stella up on this piece, but with the ink, it smeared it. So for this one here, I'm not going to put it because I kind of like the crisp white lettering of this one versus the lettering on here. Now I do like the sparkle on that, but I do think that the lettering stands out a little bit better on the one that I did not put the Wink of Stella on. So this is our card. I hope you guys enjoyed. I thought she turned out really sweet. Just kind of a simple card in and of itself. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you would like, I will have dimensions and a downloadable printable supply list over on my blog, worldofjencraft.com. Hope to see you over there. Bye.